Hey Fellowship, God's best to you today. Hope you've had a great week. Just wanted to remind you, Sunday we are both in person and online at 9:30 for the community groups and at 10:45 for the worship service. Of course, the worship service is on demand, so it's there starting first thing Sunday morning, and you can watch it. But I really want to encourage you to be part of the community group. And if you at all can come in person, we would love to see you. We are social distancing, and so everything's safe, secure that way, but we'd love to see you in person if you're at all able to. Hey, before I let you go, I just wanted to share with you a verse that I saw really for the first time just a couple of days ago. You remember last week in the sermon, we talked about Joshua, and I gave reference to this the first time we ever met Joshua. It was in Exodus 17. Joshua is fighting a battle with the Amalekites. It was the first time Israel had ever been at war. I mean, for generations they had been brick makers, and then they crossed through the Red Sea and the Amalekites attacked them. So Israel musters an army. Joshua kind of rises to the top, and he's going to be the leader of it. And the way it worked is that Joshua was going to be down on the battlefield fighting. And it's that great story where Moses is up on the mountain with his arms extended, probably praying and asking God to intercede for his people. And when his arms were extended, the battle was going their way. Joshua was overwhelming the Amalekites, but when his arms got tired and he let them fall, they started getting beat. And so then Aaron holds up one arm and Hur holds up the other arm, and basically Moses has his arms extended all throughout the day, and finally at the end of the day it says Joshua overwhelmed the Amalekites. Now can you imagine that scene where Joshua and Moses are debriefing about the day, and Joshua was talking about how the battle went for them and then it went against them, and they put it together, Moses and Joshua put it together that was exactly when his arms were up or when his arms had fallen, and they saw the power of prayer. Now, Moses is the guy that talked face to face with God. I mean, he's 85 years old. Joshua's this young guy. So can you imagine the impact that he had? I mean, not only was it his first battle, because he'd been a brickmaker all his life, but I mean, God was taking care of him in such an incredible way. I'm sure that day he felt the power of God in his life, in his sword, in the victory. Well, that's when this verse that I want to point out to you, I think is so significant. It's Exodus chapter 17, verse 14. After Moses tells that story, what God says is, now Moses, I want you to write that down in a memorial and recite it to Joshua. I want you to write this story down and record it so that Joshua won't forget it. I'm sure that Moses probably mentioned that to Joshua, and Joshua was like, hey, save your ink. There is no way in the world I will ever forget that. I mean, in his mind, that had to be one of the most significant things that he had ever experienced. And yet God knew that as significant as that was, Joshua probably had the tendency to forget it. I mean, what a great lesson. What a great lesson for me. I think every one of us, we have had times when we know God has come through and intervened for us. We've experienced the power of prayer, and we forgot because we didn't write it down and because we've forgotten about it. Now here's the challenge that I think would be good for all of us. Over the last, what has it been, almost 3 months, every one of us have seen God work in some really significant ways. Okay, maybe they're small, minor ways, but they were significant to us. The way God has taken care of us. And here's the challenge. We need to not forget those. We need to write them down, because I can guarantee you in 6 months, this is going to be a fog. We're not going to remember it. What is it that God has done for us? You know, Psalm 107, it talks about how the redeemed of the Lord should say so. I think not only should we write this stuff down, we need to talk about it. And you know, that's awkward. That's awkward for me to go around and say, hey, this is what God's been doing for us. But I mean, why would that be awkward to me? Why would that be something that it's almost like I'm ashamed to say, hey, this is what God has done for me? Oh, okay, we got to be gracious, tactful, not obnoxious. But God has done so much for us, and we ought never to forget it, and we really ought to be sharing it. Hey, I hope you are having a great week. I hope as this weekend comes, you've got some things planned. Really want to encourage you. We would love to see you on Sunday, whether it's in person or online. All the details are there at the website. We love you. We can't wait till we all are able to come and corporately worship together. God's best to you today. Have a great weekend.